Welcome to the Sober and Happy podcast, where we talk about all things recovery related, how to navigate the challenges that we'll face along the way on our journey towards our best lives, and how we could go from living a life of simply just being sober to a life where we're both sober and happy. What does it mean to be sober and happy? This doesn't mean that we'll always live in a state of happiness. Things are going to happen in life. We're going to have bad days. It is about how we feel about our sober lives as a whole. Are we genuinely living a life that feels good to us? One that fulfills us? One that is so amazing that the thought of drinking simply vanishes because we're living a life that genuinely fills the holes that we tried for years to fill with alcohol and drugs. So what steps can we take to grow into that sober and happy life? Well, that is what we're going to be talking about today. So buckle up. This is going to be a great episode. Welcome back. In my intro, I discussed the journey from simply just being sober to being sober and happy. I'm not just talking about the journey I hope to take you on. I'm talking about my own experience. Along my recovery journey, I've been sober and content, sober and feeling unfulfilled, and sober and absolutely miserable. It was around 5 years sober that I realized that I wasn't sober and happy, and the thought started creeping into my head that if I was going to be miserable, why not be drunk and miserable? Luckily, that thought scared me into action, and I began looking deeply into my life and why I was having so much difficulty sustaining joy and fulfillment. I realized it didn't have to do with being drunk or sober. Yes, for me, getting sober was the first step necessary to begin that journey to a happy life. But just being sober was not enough. I had to take action to begin to discover what was going to provide me true happiness. The first and most crucial step is to become more self-aware. How happy you are directly correlates with the emotions you experience regularly throughout the day. We could post positive quotes on Instagram all day, tell people that we're living our best lives when asked how we're doing, and genuinely put off the presence of being a happy person. But what we're feeling will drive our happiness. How we look on the outside is just our reputation. But if we want to truly be fulfilled, we must address how we feel on the inside. To do this, over the next couple of days, take inventory of your emotions. How often are you in conflict with people in your life, or even just jumping into random debates in the comment sections on social media? Are you critical and judgmental, or are you leading with compassion to support the people in your life more? How often are you angry, fearful, depressed, anxious, or frustrated? On the flip side, how often are you excited? What makes you feel moments of joy and happiness? What are some things that you do that make you feel peaceful and relaxed? Start to log your emotion and the circumstances around it. What brought on the emotion and how long did it last? You will notice that even identifying things and becoming more self-aware of your emotions will begin to take power out of negative emotions and create more space to experience the positive ones. But we don't want to stop there. The next step is to begin to take responsibility for your own happiness. This will be one of the more challenging steps for many of us. We have spent so much of our lives in avoidance. Drinking was such a powerful experience for me in the beginning that it made me feel different. I wanted to avoid all the uncomfortable feelings I was experiencing, the pain from unhealed trauma, the insecurities I let take over my life, the fears that I was able to shove down after a few drinks. I felt like I'd become a new person, the person I wanted to be, because I'd found the magic potion to avoid all the feelings plaguing me my whole life. But when I got sober, I still didn't know how to deal with these emotions, so I looked for other things to stuff it down. The amount I smoked went way up. When I quit smoking, I started eating more. I went through vehicles like crazy because as soon as the temporary happiness of a new truck wore off, I was already shopping for the next upgrade that would make me feel that way again. I looked for other people to provide me happiness, whether through compliments from people around me for accomplishments in my life, or through bouncing in and out of relationships, seeking that feeling you get at the beginning of one. I was still seeking happiness outside of me because I wasn't happy inside. I was putting the responsibility for my happiness on everything external to me, which I have no control over. And the harder I tried to control everything around me to fit my needs, the more miserable I got. So how do we start to claim responsibility for our own happiness? That is what the list from the first step is for. Look at the negative emotions and what is triggering them. If you're pissed off most of the day, what things are triggering you? Maybe it is bad drivers on the road, feeling disrespected by someone, or people not behaving in a way that you think they should. The first thing I do when looking at the triggering things is ask myself, in the big picture of life, does it really matter? Yes, that initial angry emotion still comes up when someone cuts me off in traffic, but what I choose to do about it is where I have the power. I could either let it go, or I could increase the negative emotion by laying on my horn, flipping them off, tailgating them for miles, and then tell everybody I talk to the rest of the day about that jerk who cut me off. Neither is going to change the fact that they cut me off. Showing them how pissed off I am is not going to make them a better driver suddenly. Complaining about it will not make me feel any better in the long term. All it will do is make me more angry and frustrated and drag that emotion on for even longer. My initial emotion in reaction to the event may not be avoidable, but I could choose how much power I'll let it have over me. This is usually when somebody says, well, I can't just let people disrespect me. Here's the thing. If we learn to develop self-respect, we will no longer have to demand respect from others. This doesn't mean that people will not do disrespectful things to us. They will no longer have the power over whether we feel respected because we will earn our respect internally and not from others acting the way that we think they should. Now, this does not mean that we allow ourselves to be treated poorly either. However, we could learn to set healthy boundaries rather than demanding respect and then choose to have healthy relationships with people that support each other's boundaries. The next and most crucial step is to ask ourselves why we gravitate towards some of the emotions causing us so much pain. Humans seek what is familiar, even if it causes us pain. Some people have only known conflict throughout their lives, so they'll always seem to find conflict within the world around them. We've been hurt in the past, we may always be anxious, trying to avoid situations where we feel vulnerable. Most of us in recovery have lived periods of our lives in absolute chaos. So that is what feels familiar, so we seek out drama to continue to live in that familiar chaotic state. This is why people often get out of one toxic relationship and jump back into another one. If we want to learn to control our emotions, we first must understand why our emotions are controlling us. We should not just focus on eliminating negative emotions in our lives. We should look at the things in our lives that will provide us joy and fulfillment and add more of those things to our lives. When we do that, we'll begin making them feel more familiar, replacing the familiarity we have developed with negative emotions in the past. This isn't just about chasing more temporary happiness, like buying a new vehicle whenever the new car feeling wears off like I was doing. This is about choosing the things that provide us lasting fulfillment, even if it means sacrificing temporary happiness. I know that when I feel down, eating half a pizza and some cookie dough ice cream will momentarily make me feel better. But once that wears off, I will feel worse than I did before. If instead, I ate something a little more healthy and took a walk, although I would bypass that initial burst of feel good, I would feel better in the long run. So look at the things in your life that provide you the most fulfillment and add more of those things to your days. Many times, though, our list may be heavily skewed towards negative emotions, and we don't have much on our list that provides us that feeling of joy and fulfillment. This brings me to the next item on my list, which is to start giving back to others. The quickest way to contribute to others is to volunteer. This could be anything from walking dogs at the local shelter to working a shift at the local food bank to help feed the homeless. What do you care about that you would feel good about helping more? When you contribute to others, you will feel happier and more fulfilled. This is the quickest way to begin breaking the habit of being self-centered. I'm not using self-centered as a term for being selfish as you normally might hear it. I'm talking about living in a state where you think everything happens for you or against you. It is when you hit multiple red lights and think you have the worst luck. It is when something bad happens and you think the universe is out to get you. This is when our anxiety is so high because we're convinced that everybody is judging everything we do when most people don't even notice because they're too focused on themselves. It is when we are so focused on everything bad that has happened in our lives that we can't move beyond our past. The quickest path to being less self-centered is to become more other-centered. This alone is the quickest and most powerful way to change my emotions and feel better about myself. But we're not stopping there. The last and most important way to live a sober and happy life is to chase your dreams. And I want to emphasize that this is your dreams. I made the mistake of pursuing my MBA at about 2 years sober. I'm not saying that getting an MBA is a mistake. However, it was not my dream to do this. I did it for all the wrong reasons. I did it because I still felt like a failure telling everybody that I was going to get my MBA right after graduating with my bachelor's degree and becoming a drunk instead. I thought about how good it would feel to brag about having an MBA and people thinking how smart I was. I thought about my name in the signature of my work email having the letters MBA behind it. Every reason was to feed my insecurities and my ego, not because I wanted to do it, but I tried to do it anyway. I forced myself through 2 semesters of misery before finally dropping out, which only fueled those insecurities even more because now I'm a college dropout. It wasn't until years later that I realized and accepted that I was just chasing a dream that was not mine. Then I refocused on the dreams that I wanted. So when I say chase your dreams, I'm talking about the dreams that when you envision yourself at the finish line, it feels amazing even if no one was there to see it. This isn't about getting the job that will make your parents happy. It isn't about the job title you think will make you look good when someone asks, "What do you do for a living?" This isn't about making enough money to buy everything you think will make you happy and make you look good just to impress your friends and neighbors. This isn't about what will get you the most likes on Facebook or Instagram. This is about chasing things that will make you feel proud. This is about laying your head on your pillow at the end of the day and feeling good about the person that you are becoming. This is about facing all your fears about what people will think and what will happen if you try and fail. This is about having the courage to say, "This is what I want, and I'm going to chase after it and keep chasing no matter what roadblocks I face." It will be scary. But courage is not the absence of fear. It is having fear and doing it anyway. So think about the things in life that would be meaningful for you to achieve. Spend time imagining what it would feel like to be at the finish line having achieved it. How proud would you be of yourself? How good will it feel to keep your word to yourself that you will do this? How much confidence would you gain by having the courage and resilience to accomplish it? Think about how, with that added confidence, you could dream a much bigger dream and accomplish more than you ever thought was possible. That is the best part about climbing a mountain. You get to see all the other mountains that you didn't even know existed if you had stayed at the bottom instead of climbing that mountain. Chasing dreams is the same. Most of us are not living up to our full potential because we don't even realize how much we are capable of. However, the only way to learn what we are capable of is climbing one mountain at a time. So what mountain are you going to climb today? Choose one, get climbing, and I promise you that the sober and happy life you crave will be found on that journey. Thank you for listening to this episode, and I hope you enjoy the podcast. Here's your weekly challenge. I want you to envision the life you want. Close your eyes and imagine how it would feel to be living in that life. Then take the next step and get it out of your head. You could do a vision board. You could write a letter to your future self. You could create a treasure map on how to get from where you are now to where you want to be. Be creative. Do something where you could really feel it in your heart. Then start living it. That is my challenge for you this episode. New episodes come out each Friday, so I look forward to connecting with you next week. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Keep living sober and happy.